Hi there, I'm Christopher, and welcome to this, the 8th episode of Christopher, Barons of Gaming. On this episode, I'm going to talk about Beyond Two Souls again. I'm also going to talk about Banished on PC and the Lego Movie Game. So the first game I'm going to talk about today is the Lego Movie Game. Now, I have been a huge fan of Lego nearly all my life. Since I was about 3 years old, 1985, I got a huge collection inherited from a cousin. Now, I just think it's one of the greatest, most amazing toys of all time. The imagination that people can use is just fantastic. Now, you notice I said Lego there. That's actually the correct pronunciation. It's not pronounced Lego, it's pronounced Lego. Now, with the Lego game, I've got to say that it is really, really good. Now, the Lego games recently have, when they've been movie spin-offs, have really worked quite well. They use the audio from the game itself, and this one here is no different. So basically, it uses the same audio, let's say like Liam Neeson and Morgan Freeman, from the movie and put directly into the game. Now, I just found this was really good. I saw the film last night and I'd got the game shortly beforehand, and it actually follows the story really closely.
Gosh. I only work in black. That's my kind of Lego bro.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Do it.
I think I got it, but just in case, tell me the whole thing again. I wasn't listening.
This is most certainly a game which is fantastic for children of all ages. Now, the next game I'm going to talk about is Banished. Now, the thing that really makes Banished stand out from other games, like Stronghold for instance, is the fact that there's no fighting involved. You don't have to build armies, and every person that you have equals an actual person, which is a really interesting idea. Now, that doesn't mean that this game is not challenging at all. In fact, I would say it's extremely difficult, because your main enemies are most certainly the cold, hunger, and that's basically it. I think probably old age there as well, but it is such a difficult game. It is a wonderful game, and it's relatively cheap. It's extremely small, only about 290 megabytes. Now, essentially what you do is you are a community that's been banished from your country, and you have to start it anew. So instead of building an army and trying to take back what you have, you just have to start again. So you have to plant crops, you have to grow livestock and other things like that. But the difference is that there is a year that goes through, and if you plant your crops at the wrong time of the year, then you won't get a bigger yield, so your people might starve. Also, you have to collect firewood and wood for building, stone for building, build up a whole community. And if something from that community stops working, then the whole thing collapses. And you do find sometimes that most of your characters will suddenly just die in the space of 5 minutes. They'll all just die because they get sick, or it gets too cold, or they starve because the crops have failed years before. But to get something, once it's failed, to get it back into the right motion again might take a few years. Overall, this game is a great strategy game. It really makes you think. It can be very, very annoying sometimes, though, purely for the fact that once things start to landslide, you really cannot repair it. It's very hard to anyway. And I had something where I had about 26 people, which is actually a really large number of people for the game. And then suddenly everybody died, and I only had one person left. And I should also say that this game is not real time, but it is probably the slowest strategy game of this kind. So if you're playing it on number 1 speed, what you find is that it takes a good 5 minutes to build one little house, whereas most games it takes a few seconds. But this takes a long time. So most of the time you have to play this game in 10 times speed, otherwise nothing gets done. But overall, it is a sensational game. Give it a go. It's on Steam, and it's worth a try. Now, I've had some feedback from my last show about the fact that I didn't really talk about Beyond Two Souls quite enough. So I thought this time I'd talk a little bit more about it. First thing I'm going to say is that it's a PlayStation-only game, so obviously PlayStation controller. Now, the reason why I have my controller here is I wanted just to explain that most of this game just uses these two sticks here. It does use some of the buttons as well, but it's mainly these two sticks. So you could say that most of the game is like a quick time action, but I'd say it's more than that.
What's going on, Nathan?
This is Ryan Clayton from the CIA. The agency wants you to join their military school program at Camp Perry. You have to go with them, Jody. Today.
Come on, Holmes, keep up!
This really has to be one of the most compelling games I have ever played. It really does bring about the barrier between movies and games. It essentially is an 8-hour movie, although you can interact with it, and every little thing that you do makes a difference down the track. And the one really big difference between this game and previous games made by Quantum Dream, like Heavy Rain for instance, and of course Fahrenheit, is that if you make a mistake, it does not necessarily mean you have to start again. It might just affect what happens further down the track. So it really is a surprisingly good game. Now, to give an example, you might have to do something like push your stick up and then turn it in a particular direction and then back in another way, and do that straight off just dropped my controller, straight off the bat, and make it absolutely perfect. And if you don't, it won't stop the game, but you won't come out as well. And as I said, it might affect something further on down the track. Now, I've got to say the acting in this game really is absolutely sensational. And of course, it's all motion capture with real actors basically playing themselves. And of course, the two leads are Willem Dafoe and Ellen Page. Now, Ellen Page does such a good job with this game. Really, she absorbs the character so well, and it's absolutely, truly amazing. Willem Dafoe also plays it very, very well, and of course there are other actors there who should get a mention. It is a really good movie game, and I really hope to see more games like this. I think this game would be so brilliant on the PlayStation 4 because even though the graphics are extremely good for a PlayStation 3 game, on the PlayStation 4 this could be the best. It really, I mean, it just is a sensational game. It's so worth playing. And now on the Barons of Gaming podcast, the latest one of course, John and I talked about this and we both agree that it is just a beautifully, beautifully made game. Okay, so I have a question for my viewers, which is, which of these two controllers do you think is best? More comfortable? Which one works better? Which one has better technology? Which one would you go for? Now, I'm not asking whether you're an Xbox person or a PlayStation person, but which one would you prefer? I'm interested to know because they're both very, very different. Now, personally, I actually prefer the feeling of this one. I like the pad, but in saying that, I think that the Xbox has really awesome rumble in the triggers. So each has a positive thing, each has a negative, but I'd like to know what your opinion is. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode, but please have a look at my Instagram at Christopher Barons of Gaming. Also, check out the Barons of Gaming website, www.baronsofgaming.com. Also, follow us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Barons of Gaming. Also on Twitter and things like that as well. But Instagram is the big one at the moment. Follow on Instagram and vice versa. If you're looking at this on Instagram, follow it on YouTube as well. So don't forget to push that little subscribe button down there. And I've got one last thing to say, which is, until next time, keep on gaming.